First, begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website, www.vop.ng, for fresh and trending stories. We're in the African news from DR Congo, where the treason trial of former Democratic Republic of Congo's president, Joseph Kabila, has opened in a military court in the capital, Kinshasa. Kabila is also facing charges of murder tied to allegations that he supported M23 rebels who currently control large parts of the mineral-rich eastern region of the country. He has denied all charges and refused to attend the hearing. President Felix Tshisekedi, Kabila's successor, has accused him of being the mastermind behind the rebel movement. Kabila, in response, dismissed the case as politically motivated, claiming the judiciary is being used as a tool of oppression. This comes despite a ceasefire deal signed last week between the government and the rebel fighting, however, has continued. In another development, the former head of the Central African Republic's Football Federation, Patrice Edouard Ngwansona, has been found guilty of 28 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court. Ngaisona was accused alongside Alfred Yekatom, also known as Rambo, for coordinating attacks against the country's Muslim population between 2013 and 2014. The verdict follows a trial that lasted nearly 4 years, during which the court heard from over 170 witnesses and reviewed close to 20,000 pieces of evidence. Ngaisona was sentenced to 12 years in prison, while Yekatom received a 15-year sentence. Moving on, the Somali army has killed more than 10 Al-Shabaab militants in coordinated operations across the central states of Hirshabelle and Galmudug. The military raids targeted terrorist hideouts, significantly weakening the group's operational capacity, though full details are still emerging. Officials say the operations are expected to disrupt Al-Shabaab's logistics, reduce its ability to launch attacks, and further degrade its strength. Al-Shabaab has waged a violent insurgence against the Somali government for over 16 years, frequently targeting security forces, officials, and civilians. But still in the news, the Pentagon has confirmed U.S. State Department approval of a $4.67 billion arms deal to supply Egypt with advanced air defense missile systems. The package includes 4 Sentinel-64 radars, hundreds of missiles, and dozens of guidance units. U.S. officials and private contractors will provide ongoing engineering, technical, and logistical support to integrate the system into Egypt's military. Washington says the deal will enhance the security of a key non-NATO ally and advance broader U.S. foreign policy and defense objectives. Egypt, a longtime strategic partner of the U.S., has received steady military support since its 1979 peace treaty with Israel. This deal boasts Egypt's air defenses while reaffirming America's commitment to regional stability in the Middle East. Turkey and Niger have signed a military cooperation agreement during the 2025 International Defense Industry Fair in Istanbul. The military financial cooperation agreement was signed by Turkish Deputy National Defense Minister Alparslan Kavak and Niger's Defense Ministry Secretary General Sani Kachi. The ceremony conducted and concluded with a commemorative photo session featuring officials from both countries. There are also reports that say the Ghana Air Force is set to establish a new base at Jogboy, near Bamboy, in the Savannah region to bolster aerial security and protect key national assets, including the Boy Hydro Dam. The base will provide air support for security operations and facilitate logistics to safeguard critical infrastructure and combat illegal mining activities in Ghana's northern corridor. Construction is expected to begin in about 3 months. The first phase, including an operational airfield, is projected to be completed within 2 years, with the full project set for completion in 5 years. Air Commodore Kwabena Kisiedu Manankure Atiamo, commander of the Tactical Air Commander at Bui, made the announcement during a visit by Ghana Air Force Commander Air Vice Marshal Patrick Agien Frimpong to the proposed site and the Bui Power Authority. He said the initiative underscores Ghana's renewed commitment to fighting illegal mining and securing public investments. Away from that report and still in Ghana, Ghana's Finance Minister, Cassie Forson, has revealed that over 67,000 ghost workers have been discovered on the government's payroll, leading to the recovery of more than $14 million. Speaking during the 2025 media budget review in Parliament, Forson said in an audit by the Ghana Audit Service uncovered 2 categories of illicit entries inflating the payroll. To address the issue, the government is introducing a series of reforms, including nationwide staff audits and the reassignment of personnel from overstaffed or defunct agencies to departments with urgent staffing needs. These measures come after President Mahama ordered an investigation in February into the National Service Authorities, where more than 81,000 suspected ghost names were found on the payroll under the previous administration. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now to the analysis segment of the news. And joining us to make sense of these stories and more, in the studio here with me is Dr. Peter Anosike, who is Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst and an economist by profession. Doctor, a very good afternoon to you.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us virtually all the way from Uganda is Barrister Edward Okwaro Omatakinye. Barrister Edward is a human rights lawyer, human rights activist, and a business associate. A very good afternoon to you, Barrister.
Good afternoon to you too in the studio. How are you?
I'm fine, very well, thank you. Well, also joining us virtually all the way from Kenya is Mr. Martins Irere Njue. Mr. Martins is also a political affairs analyst and the CEO, Wealthgate Insurance Agency. A very, very good afternoon to you, Mr. Martins.
A very good afternoon to you, Edwin, Peter Anosike, and the Barrister Edward Okwaro.
Thank you so very much for joining us. All right, let's get to it almost immediately. I'm going to start from my studio analyst here. Doctor, interestingly, Ghana seems to be doing so many things that is gaining international reaction and, of course, international recognition. Now, one is the fact that in the civil service right now, the report from the finance minister, I'm talking about Cassie Forson, who was also a member of the parliament before the election, the general election, has revealed that 67,000 ghost workers have been discovered on the government payroll of the civil service. And that is a recovery of more than $14 million. Doctor, what's your general overview of this particular kind of conversation? Because before now, the president did say that there were rumors about the civil service that over 81,000 ghost workers are in the civil service. This level of cleanup, how do you react to this, Doctor?
Well, that's corruption. And, you know, the reason why Mahama was re-elected was because his economy was better than that of his successor, Akufo-Addo. So Ghanaians felt that their life were better under Mahama than Akufo. So, and you know, as I say, election is always a referendum, an appraisal of an incumbent's stewardship. And right now, that's what is reigning everywhere called small government ideology.
Okay.
Small government ideology. Any country that adopts this would succeed. And that is the ideology that the president of Argentina adopted. And within 6 months of coming into office, Argentina was in recession when he was elected. And within 6 months, they were out of recession. Because why he came and cut down the size of his cabinet by 50%.
Okay.
Understand me?
Right.
So, and this Muhammad came with that same style. When he came in, he dissolved 7 ministries. He dissolved seven ministries,
right,
which is a way of reducing the high cost of governance. And what he's doing now is what Donald Trump is doing with his Department of Government Efficiency.
Okay.
That simply means reducing the size of government so that it can function well. And again, when Donald Trump wanted that to check what is happening in the U.S. civil service, what he did was they shared their forms. Right, that's a questionnaire.
Right.
Write what you did the last week.
Okay.
Understand me? Write on the questionnaire your performance to know who is working and who is not working.
All right, I'm still going to stay with you, Doctor. What do you think will be the investors' perception of these kind of conversation in the civil service? What would be the investors' perception, particularly the FDIs that might be coming into the country with this kind of conversation?
For me, it will be very high because it shows that sanity is going on in the country. It shows that the government is fighting corruption.
Okay.
Understand me? So for me, it is a good one for him.
All right, then let's go straight to Uganda. Dr. Edward, I beg your pardon, Barrister Edward, this is becoming one conversation that a lot of Africans really, really would want to consistently ask when and how can other African nations emulate this kind of act in government. A government of John Dramani Mahama that has said, I'm going to cut down clearly on the cost of governance. And then, of course, he had this 120 days of personal and relationship. His 120 days of evaluation. Yes, I'm trying to rephrase it. Looking at the fact that the government is going down on ghost workers that has taken as much as $14 million in the past administrations. What would you make of this, basically? Barrister Edward.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Brother Edwin and Doctor at the studio. I want to apologize. Last time I didn't manage to attend the session. Coming to the question, what comes to my mind about the ghost workers being discovered or scooping all that kind of amount in a nation which is developing, a nation which is actually yearning for a good change. It is something which actually every person in the world should be worried of. You know, one thing I've discovered with, and I've always seen with our African leadership, Roma leaders, just want to give you an example. I've just seen news from Kenya, which is my neighbor, that the Auditor General discovered around 150 ghost schools, and the government is pumping money to these ghost schools, which are non-existent. So it is one method of introducing corruption in a direct manner. Is because they are failing on the other ways, because other ways are becoming direct. We are discovering as Africans that these leaders, and their interest is not actually to help us. The interest is to totally derail the work for the people. So I feel it is again for the leadership of Ghana, leadership which is actually now working hard to actually null this kind of activities. That is what I can say.
All right, now I'm still going to stay with you, Barrister Edward. Interestingly, some quarters have said some of these workers are not ghost workers. They are workers that the government is trying to clamp down because according to some of them, they say it is trying to clamp down on opposition. But interestingly, some are saying they will be going to court. Looking at these kind of conversation and of course, the recovery of more than $14 million with, of course, clamping down on 67,000 ghost workers. Do you think this, even in court, might find a good verdict when the case is presented in court?
That in Africa, each country has a constitution. So if indeed the government is not doing the right thing, there is a hand, the upper hand of the civil society, the constitution, which somebody can apply to actually evict get himself out of it. So I feel in this case, let's give a government a credit because they are trying their best to fight corruption. And if it is not in a right manner, then you are good to go to court and now say, look here, I'm not part of it. And this is how I came to be employed by the government. You become straightforward so that it will be, there are always ministries, some departments, which I believe in every government signed this kind of activities. So I believe they are doing their right job. So that will come with time. Whether the government is doing the right thing or not, it will be shown to us.
All right, then. Let's go straight to Kenya. And Mr. Martins, you're a financial advisor. I'm going to come to you on the part of finances. $14 million is what the government is recovering as a result of these unveiling factor of 67,000 ghost workers. This kind of funding in a country as not so big as Ghana, do you think significantly it might, if taken and pushed back into the economy, would do something significant in the economy? And then would these also be a major landmark going forward in next elections?
To Mr. Edwin, this is commendable to His Excellency Mahama from Ghana. From the perspective of the governance, His Excellency job, which is safeguarding the taxpayer money. This is a very key policy to ensure that the taxpayer money is well safeguarded and it is channeled to the right interest of the country. Mr. Edwin, a country, I remember in 2015 when Barack, His Excellency U.S. former President of United States, Barack Obama, visited Africa, especially Kenya. He said that any shilling that is going to corruption, it is stealing the employment, health, over. So, and seeing what is happening in Ghana, I think corruption is a corrosion that is eating the Africa future, which should be fought tooth and nail to ensure that we are democracy and the taxpayer money is used in the right interest of the country. So corruption is what is taking Africa in the era of colonialists.
All right then.
There are individuals who are corrupt in the system of governance, which should not be given time to channel the wrong.
All right then. I'm still going to stay with you, Mr. Martins. Interestingly, this conversation around uncovering ghost workers in the civil service seems to be something a lot of Africans say that the civil service consistently needs to be cleaned up. From your perspective, and of course, looking at your country, Kenya, and of course, the fact that the president, I'm talking about President William Ruto, is consistently trying to get it right, even amongst the Gen Zs. Do you think this kind of cleanup can be emulated in countries like your country and, of course, other countries in Africa? going by the kind of decisions, hard decisions made by the president of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama?
I think what government should do is to implement the policy of auditing the civil servant. Every year there should be a policy, or it should be a consistent way of checking pros and cons in the civil servant. Because now you find even this corruption happens during hiring. You find an institution or an organization should hire 100 employees, but you find the corrupt individual in the same institution or organization, they are going beyond the policy and hiring ghost workers above the capped number of civil policy. This ends it's a corruption in an industrial scale that should be fought tooth and nail to ensure policy and the governance are in the line with the government interests. So I think what Ghana should do in this case, and not only Ghana, this is what the African Republic should emulate to ensure that the future of the coming generation, they will find democracy and governance and government that is working for its people. Because now, if we want clean these corruption issues, it means that the future generation will inherit a regime or a policy that are corrupt. So this is not only Ghana, this should happen in all countries of Africa.
All right.
Even here in Kenya, we have seen such cases whereby there are ghost workers, even in the state house. So you wonder what is happening with Africa. So policies should be in line, which is audit every year. Government should audit the civil servant policy.
All right. Then you did
in the right track.
Interesting. Well, you did talk about policies to be made by African leaders, and of course, staying by those policies. I'm going to switch back to Uganda, and I'm going to be talking with Barrister Edward. Interestingly, there is a conversation about the trial, the treason trial of former Democratic Republic of Congo's President Joseph Kabila, and this treason trial has opened up in the military court in the capital, Kinshasa. Now, Kabila, like you know, is also facing charges of murder tied to allegations that he supported M23 rebels, who currently controls large parts of the mineral-rich eastern region of the DRC. As a lawyer, looking at the fact that this is not even a military man to be tried in a military court, and I say this because similar things happen or is happening in your country, Uganda. First, what's your overbroad reaction, particularly about someone in the person of a former president to be tried for treason in a military court? And then where does that lie the judiciary of that country?
Thank you, Edwin, for that. Mine is just to give you a very simple analysis on issues concerning the judicial system in Africa. Africa is one of the continents today where judiciary has been captured and swallowed by the current leadership. As long as you're a president, you tend to actually even disorganize every kind of any hand of the government. So the trial of the former president Kabila, it's not by surprise. It is just that it is a political witch hunt which is happening. It doesn't matter whether Kabila has done this, but he has also a right. Remember that there is that right which is accorded to every human being to be proven in court. In a situation where they are not in a position to prove him that he has committed this kind of this kind of crimes, then he will walk empty free in court. So it's not a surprise. It's not only DRC or where you have seen this in different countries, including mine here, you cannot use a military cause where you have a very strong judiciary in your country. So what is the use of civilian judiciary? And now you transfer me to the military. That should be just a headache of the country. So the president should know that he will not stay in the same position until his death. Time will come. We haven't seen countries which try presidents when they are dead because they follow them. They follow the relatives. Okay. So at the time he gets out of that position, someone will also come and do the same. So we need to show our retired presidents some kind of loyalty. And actually now, only those who have committed crimes, yes, we have a right to take them to court. But if somebody has not committed any crime, I would really advise our leadership in Africa, let's try to desist from political witch hunt, which is actually spoiling us.
All right, then. Well, I like the fact that you called it a political witch hunt, but some quarters would say this is far more than a political witch hunt, which again is bringing us to the conversation about the fact that he's been fingered to be one of the sponsors of the M23 rebels in the country that have taken over two major cities, the city of Bukavu and the city of Goma in the eastern oil-rich country of the DRC. So if we're going to really be saying this is a witch hunt, then what do you think the people who, of course, has his back and his followers would be saying at this point? But then let me bring it. Okay, you want to say something?
No. What I'm saying, we all have a right, to be actually
to be tried.
And to be tried.
Okay.
So the former president also has a right to defend himself in court, as long as there is a proper evidence that this person is supporting the rebels. So be it. He should be tried. That is it.
All right, then. Well, let me bring it back to the studio. Doctor, interestingly, Joseph Kabila just returned back into the country. And, well, he's been in exile for a while. And the place that he is presently is around that same axis where the M23 rebels have taken over. Now, he said he's not going to be attending this trial that he's been called upon in the military court. What does that really portend for these kind of treason trial that he's being taken to a military court rather than a civil court to want to be tried?
Well, the issue of or before I speak on this, let me go back to the other issue.
Okay.
Civil servants are the bedrock of corruption in government. They are more corrupt than the politicians.
You're saying this on the part of just one country or Africa?
Everywhere, both in Nigeria. Civil servants are the custodians of the files. Politicians come and go. Understand? Civil servant remains. Understand? So it is civil servants that tell politicians this is how this is being done. This is how others did it. Understand me? So civil servants are more corrupt than the politicians. Without the civil servants, there will be no corruption in government.
Okay.
Because they are the custodians of the files. Any politician has just 4 years first term, 8 years second term, and goes. Understand?
Okay.
But the civil servants are the ones that hold this file.
So structurally, the civil service should be truly cleaned up, like we're saying in Ghana.
Sure. Not just in Ghana, even in Nigeria.
What's the implication? What's the implication of not cleaning up the civil service?
The corruption will continue. Understand me? Then money will be going into wrong hands. There will be none for the development of infrastructure. Understand me?
Okay.
So on the, I strongly believe that Kabinda, that's what is happening is a witch hunt. Because being in exile, before he come back, he must have discussed with the government of the day. Understand me? You cannot just be in exile as a former president and come back without getting permission from the government.
He even said that he was coming to mediate between the governor and the M23 rebels.
And one thing with a military court, I've been opportune to attend a court martial, which is the way military that addresses their own cases. your legal team is you are not free in a military court. Understand me? Okay. Your legal team are not free in a military court. Understand? Because they have their own different rules apart from the civil courts.
Which is one of the concerns that Joseph Kabila also raised as well.
So if they didn't, and you can hardly get justice in a military court, especially if the government is after you. Understand me? Because your freedom is reduced by 50% in a military court. I have been to a court-martial court here in Nigeria, and I see what goes on there. You are like somebody that's in prison. Understand me? You are somebody that's in prison, and these people, the military tries you as if you are already you're already guilty of the offense.
Now, looking at these kind of conversation, what do you think will be the implication of having a former president in the person of Joseph Kabila being tried in a military court? The perception of the global village as against what DRC is trying to do, because the president, I'm talking about Felix Tshisekedi, did say that this is a major cleanup and a sanitation through the entire military base of his country. How is that affecting the former president?
African heads of states, African presidents don't care about the image of their government.
Even in the outside world?
Even to the house, they don't even care.
And then they go on wanting to look for FDIs. Please help us
when
marry this situation
When
together.
a Nigerian president go to UK and told the Prime Minister of UK that Nigeria is corrupt. Understand me? When a Nigerian president goes to UK and tell their Prime Minister that his people in his own country is corrupt.
Which president are you referring to, Mr. Dr.?
Buhari did that. Oh. Then Tinubu went to UAE and told the UAE executive, if any of my ministers demand bribe from you, let me know. They're marketing your own people. Telling other people that your own people are criminals.
So in this situation now, the leadership of African countries, clearly, like you're trying to imply now, does not care about the image that they give of the country.
If they are caring, they should be doing the right thing. If they are caring, they should be doing the right thing. Do you think that Museveni cares about what international community is thinking about him? He doesn't. Do you think that Paul Biya is thinking and will be in office for 40 years or more? So African presidents don't care. If they care, there will be a mind shift.
I'm still going to come to you before we wrap up this conversation, because I want to find out, when this African leadership do not care about the image they give about their country outside, how then do they get the FDIs that they go out consistently to want to get?
Okay. In FDI of 2024, Kenya came first.
Yes.
With 46 billion.
Yes.
Nigeria was on the 19th with 1.8 billion. Why they call us the giant of Africa? Understand me? Because investors are not stupid. They have to check where I'm going to invest. Is the judiciary free? Will I be able to get justice if I invest in this country and something goes wrong? So
which is another factor for investors to clearly look at the entire landscape of the country. If it's
Sure.
Anyways, let's get straight to Kenya, and Mr. Martins is still with us. Well, interestingly, this conversation about trying civilians in military court, just like Doctor mentioned, is more like having 50% of your freedom cut out from you. But from your perspective, before the likes of Joseph Kabila returned to the country from exile, he did say he wants to come and help the country, which of course have been in serious security issues with the M23 rebels and of course the military. Looking at these kind of conversation, do you think that just like the doctor said here, the implication of all of these scenario in the international community would not affect the FDIs coming into the country?
Thank you, Mr. Edwin. What is happening in DRC Kinshasa is sad because this is what the other day we call it elite state capture. This shows that there is blame game, like what we are addressing yesterday, where the government of Kenya were arresting the activists, indicating they were the ones that were championing the Gen Z protest in the country. Now you see, when His Excellency Tshisekedi is not addressing the issue of the country and the governance, he is now extending blame to Kabila, and that's why now can you see the capturing of institution, whereby instead of trying him in a commercial court, he is trying him in the military court, which I think from the perspective that is capturing of institution and suppressing the will of the political class and the political elite. In this case, whereby government of DRC is extending this to Kabila, it shows that the government is operating in fear. And now knowing that Kabila can endorse someone who will outdo the incumbent. In this case, the Africa should address the issue of Pan-Africanism and the democracy. Because once there is a state elite capture, democracy is suppressed. The will of the people is suppressed. So we need a country that respects the right of humanity, and that respects the rule of law, and that respects the constitution that governs the country or republic on the matters of policy implementation.
All right then. Well, let me stay with you. Interestingly, you did mention earlier, you spoke about policy, and as it stands, Turkey and Niger has signed a defense deal. Now, this deal practically in cooperation agreement, of course, during the 2025 International Defense Industry Fair in Istanbul. Well, this particular agreement clearly is going to maybe be a strong strength on the part of Niger, who we know is no more with the ECOWAS community. Again, I want to ask you, looking at these kind of conversations, strengthening of military, of course, in your country, does this imply that Africans are not looking inward to making this cooperation even much more heavy in terms of stamping out insecurity in Africa?
Thank you, Mr. Edwin. You see, the diplomatic ties between Turkey and the Niger, this is one of the diplomatic ties that makes Africa, not only the republic, strong. You know, a republic cannot stand alone without diplomatic ties with the other country of the world. Even in the matters of economic stability, political stability, we need to create what we call diplomatic policies that helps the country to develop and to address the key issue and to compare the policy with other global republic. And now, you know, not only Africa, but we are now in the what we call global collaboration, whereby now we are like hub of information and technology. In this, whereby there is this diplomatic ties, it happens that country or government is able to implement policies that benefit their citizens, and that makes the country be seen as a brand outside its boundaries. It harnesses the global market as well, where policy and formulation are at the center. Secondly, it brings the investor, because now when when another country, an investor in another country sees that the government has collaborated with another country, it brings the awareness of policy that favors the investor, and that policy will create employment and will streamline the governance in the right direction.
All right, then let me just go straight to Uganda, and of course, I'm going to ask that Barrister in 30 seconds also react to this conversation. To securing their borders. In maybe 1 minute, help us chime into this while we wrap up this analysis conversation. Barrister, I don't know if you can hear me. Can you hear me, Barrister?
I can hear you now.
Okay, now I was saying the same question in less than 30 seconds, 1 minute. The same question about the relationship, the bilateral, beg your pardon, security ties between Turkey and Niger. What do you think this portend for a country like Niger that is fighting insurgency and, of course, trying to clamp out on insurgency as it were? Then also talk about the U.S. clearing major missile sales to Egypt. The agreement has been signed. Pentagon has agreed. And, of course, they've approved that a $4.67 billion arms deal be supplied to Egypt in 1 minute because of that.
I would get back the words of my brother Ireri on the diplomatic policies. Right. You know, one thing I want you to know, in Africa, we are not Westerners. In Africa, we only enter into bilateral agreements with interest. Without the interest, there is no need. There is nothing I need from you. So it is not for the people, but it is for the individuals. So when you talk about bilateral agreements, you should know that the person in position today has a benefit. So that is where Africa is going. Africa is not democratically addressing their issues in a proper manner. I will repeat and say, Africa is one of the continents, if we really joined our hands together, if we really came as a continent, number one, be sincere to ourselves, then for sure would not even be crying too much for any kind of issues you are seeing Western is giving us. So just slightly to Egypt, that one I want to address to you that is a business. It is a business of the day.
Okay.
Because it's still Egypt, obviously by clearing, US clearing missiles to Egypt. Okay. It is a benefit for someone.
All right, then.
It is not just for free.
Yes.
There must be something out of it.
Well, thank you so very much, Barrister Edward. Let me come to the studio. Barrister, Doctor, in less than 30 seconds, the arms deal between Egypt and the US, he just said it's just a deal. And some persons are saying this conversation around the Turkey-Niger security tie, it's not coming from a base of Niger enjoying it even more, but rather Turkey enjoying it even more. What's your position?
Western countries look after their interest, not the people. Their concern is their interest. They doesn't do anything that would not benefit them. So I'm not against the signing of agreement, but it has to be a win-win situation. It has to be this Egypt, United States. It is America that gains. Understand me?
Okay.
In this deal, who is Egypt going to fight? They are fellow Africans or what? Understand? So for me, it is America, it is a Western world that are causing problem in Africa and sending weapons to them. Understand me?
Oh, well, this is where we have to draw anchor on the conversation this beautiful afternoon. I want to say thank you to the gentlemen who joined us in this particular analysis segment of the African News. We've been talking with Dr. Peter Anosike, Voice of the People TV's in-house political affairs analyst, and of course an economist by profession. And also virtually, we also had Barrister Edward Okwaro Matakinye, who is a human rights activist and a business associate, plus, of course, he's a lawyer. Also, we had with us all the way from Kenya, Mr. Martin Sirere Njue, who is also a political affairs analyst and I beg your pardon, business financial advisor. Plus, he's also the CEO of WealthGate Insurance Agencies. Gentlemen, thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, then the rest of the African news will continue with business and sports just after this quick break. Stay with us. Glad to have you back. It is still the African news right here in Voice of the People Television. Now to some business stories. Sierra Leone and the African Development Bank Group are stepping up efforts to strengthening natural resource governance and tackle the $90 billion Africa loses annually to illicit financial flows. A 4-day high-level seminar held at the Place Resort in Tokyo brought together over 70 stakeholders from government, civil society, the private sector, and international organizations. The seminar themed Harnessing Africa's Wealth, Curbing Illicit Financial Flows for Resilient Growth and Development, produced concrete recommendations to address one of the continent's most urgent economic challenges. AFDB country manager for Sierra Leone, Halima Hashi, said the initiative aligns with the bank's 10-year strategy, that's 2024-2033, and its Natural Resources Management and Investment Action Plan 2025-2029. Still talking business, Rwanda's President Paul Kagame has replaced long-serving Prime Minister Edward Ngerente, appointing Central Bank Deputy Governor Justin Nsengiyumva to the role. Nsengiyumva, a former permanent secretary at the Ministry of Education, holds a PhD in economics from the University of Leicester City. He was previously pardoned for a corruption conviction. The announcement was made through a post by the government spokesperson office on X. And to wrap up the African news, we'll go straight talking some sports stories. Morocco has unveiled an ambitious plan to upgrade its airports ahead of co-hosting the 2030 FIFA World Cup with Portugal and Spain. The country aims to boost airport capacity from 38 million to 80 million passengers annually by the end of the decade. The expansion and refurbishment will target airports in Marrakesh, Agadir, Tanger, and Fez, with a major focus on Mohammed V International Airport in Casablanca. Their authorities plan to build a new terminal and runway, an upgrade expected to cost around $2.5 billion. The 2030 tournament will also mark the centenary of the FIFA World Cup, to be commemorated with matches held across multiple host nations. Still talking sports, Manchester City winger Jeremy Doku has officially received his Ghanaian passport, fulfilling a long-held desire to connect with his African heritage. Born in Antwerp, Belgium, to Ghanaian parents David and Belinda Doku, the 23-year-old football star has long expressed pride in his roots. Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Sam Okudso Ablakwa confirmed the news on social media, noting Doku's wish to formally embrace his Ghanaian identity. This development could pave the way for Doku to potentially represent Ghana's national team, the Black Stars, in the future. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African news right here on Voice of the People Television. Do also subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have